If you're annoyed because you found iPhones expensive, well, you can kind of thank Samsung for that, because one of the most expensive parts of the iPhone currently is the display, and Samsung has kind of a monopoly on OLED displays right now, particularly when it comes to iPhone production, simply because of how many iPhones are made. And this situation is just going to get a whole lot weirder this year when all 4 iPhones have OLED panels, so Apple's going to be switching it up a little bit this year so that they can actually produce enough screens for everyone. Let's see how they're doing it. So what's interesting is Samsung is still going to be supplying a lot of the OLED panels for the lineup of the iPhone 12 this year. They seem to be supporting the displays for the iPhones that aren't going to sell as well, which I find interesting. So this current leak is suggesting they're supplying the 6.7 inch and 6.1 inch Pro iPhone displays, which apparently, while OLED is still standard for all 4 iPhones this year, the Pro iPhones are going to have better OLED. I know we want that to be 120 hertz, but it sounds like Apple has still not decided on whether or not that is happening, and I think that's going to make the Pros a real tough sell if they don't have it, so fingers crossed. But Samsung is also rumored to be supplying the OLED panels for the 5.4 inch iPhone 12 this year, which I was really surprised to hear about, because we'd been hearing reports that Apple was going to go with other display manufacturers for the cheaper iPhones because they're so dang cheap. I mean, still, if you want a new iPhone, the cheapest one with an OLED display is still $1,000. So how the heck is Apple going to now start supplying OLED iPhones at $650 on that 5.4 inch model? I don't know, but LG is now becoming a more primary source of display panels this year, because in previous years, Apple kind of toyed around with LG using displays. They would use it on older phones, so it's kind of interesting, but the certified refurbished iPhones that you could buy, like the XS and the 10, would actually have some of their display panels replaced by LG as kind of a trial by Apple to see, can LG provide the quality control and the scale we want? Well, it sounds like those were test years, and now moving forward, LG and this other company, BOE, who provides a lot of the displays for Chinese OEMs, they're going to be providing the OLED panels for the most popular iPhone, the 12 Max, at the 6.1 inch screen size, which I'm predicting that's probably going to be the top seller. I think everybody's going to want to buy that iPhone. It's going to have just the right amount of everything. It's going to look cool. It's going to act fast. You won't be able to have your sub 1080p display complaints. And the latest reports are claiming that LG and BOE are splitting the display manufacturing for the 6.1 inch 12 Max, the most popular one. So it's kind of weird that Apple is going to split display manufacturing between 3 different companies just so that they can have OLED standard across the whole lineup. And I think it'll be worth it. I mean, there's all kinds of paperwork and money and contracts that have to be exchanged for that to happen. But at the end of the day, I think the iPhone 12 lineup is still going to be ripe for market domination, because now there's going to be so little reason to go with the Pro iPhones, and also less and less reasons to complain about the iPhone 12 as it's gaining more standard features that people complained about it not having in the past. Of course, I'm also hoping this comes with new storage configurations, which seems to be a common trend this year for Apple. They're doubling up storage, so that would mean 128 gig by default. And while it does suck that we're hearing about no headphones included in the box, if that comes with an 18-watt charge brick and we actually get fast charging, yeah, I could see why a lot of people feel like upgrading this year. But the main concern I have with this report is LG and BOE don't seem to be doing much of the work for the 5.4 inch iPhone 12. And originally, I thought that was kind of the whole point, was for them to use a different display manufacturer that doesn't upcharge them as much, because Samsung knows with the massive scale iPhones are built at, and the fact that Apple needs to pay whatever they need to pay in order to get that on every single iPhone model, Samsung has quite an upcharge on those OLED panels, which is part of the reason iPhones are kind of so expensive. But I thought the whole logic was by switching to LG or BOE for the smaller iPhone displays, they could save money, and that's how they could obtain those really, really low prices of $650 for the entry-level model. Yes, it will be a smaller iPhone, probably not have as great a battery life, but if Samsung is still the one manufacturing the 5.4 inch display, I don't understand how they're going to be able to price it that insanely low. I mean, maybe economies of scale of some kind, you know, maybe Samsung is seeing that Apple is considering switching to LG and BOE for future iPhone models, so Samsung wanted to get a little bit more competitive and say, hey, well, hold on a second, you know, we can make some cheaper displays too. Apple, why didn't you say something? We could have helped you out earlier. So again, really, really hoping that the rumored prices we have so far are accurate and true, but if Samsung is the one building the 5.4-inch model, that might be tough to get the price that low. Obviously, we have no leaks or rumors claiming otherwise for the prices, so I'm still gonna run with them. I'm still gonna believe that the iPhone 12 and 12 Max will be $650 and $750, and of course the iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, those will be $1,000 and $1,100, which sound really good considering how in previous years when Apple increases the screen size or changes the external design or implements something like a new 5mm chip design, that's usually when we get price hikes, particularly if they're all supporting 5G this year, which how many phones have we seen support 5G and jump up by a couple $100? Who knows, maybe Apple's able to pull off the impossible just because they have so much scale and they have such a big audience that Qualcomm making their modems and their CPUs and Samsung, LG, BOE making the display panels, because they know they have so much scale, they can collect a smaller profit on each model. And we also saw reports recently that the iPhone 11 is the most popular smartphone in the world right now globally, and that's at a $700 price point. So if history has taught Apple anything, it's that pricing these iPhones a little bit lower than people are expecting is how you can retain market dominance, because iPhone 11 was really popular despite all of the complaints it got. Between the 828p display, there's still no fast charging, 64 gig standard at $700, but again, it runs iOS, which matters a lot to people and being a part of that ecosystem. And this year, of course, we're getting the updated design, updated speed, the 5G modem check. So perhaps so that Apple stays on top of the market, they're okay with not having much profit on these iPhones. And if you don't believe me about iPhone 12 being a super cycle, these display quotes that Apple is getting from Samsung and LG showcase that, yeah, they're expecting to sell something like 50 to 70 million iPhones with this first batch of smartphone displays. So I think Apple is anticipating this to be a big upgrade year, and I believe them. I think when they're doing all of these things at one time, you're gonna get a huge fleet of people upgrading simultaneously, but I wanna know what you guys think is gonna happen. So feel free, hit me up on Twitter, join my Discord, we can chat more about it there. This is your Apple Sheep here, and it's hot in here. I'm sorry if I'm sweaty. Oh my god.